I'm going to talk about basic OSPF configuration. So this includes enabling OSPF, changing the router ID or RID, changing the cost, advertise the default route and into OSPF, configure plain text authentication between routers, configure MD5 authentication between routers, and configure MD5 authentication in an area, and changing the timers or OSPF timers between routers. Yeah, these are the things that I'm going to talk about in this video. So first, enabling OSPF. I'm going to use this topology. I already have, I already configured or enabled OSPF and yeah, enabled OSPF. And this is the summary steps of enabling OSPF uh, on on routers. So configure terminal, and this is how you enable OSPF routing and enters router configuration mode. And this is how you define an interface on which OSPF runs and defines the area for that interface. So let me actually just do this command so we can see the configuration because like I said, it's already done. So here, this is what I did on R1, and this, let me just, this is an R2 here, or actually I think, let me just, because there's a lot of, how about this? Okay, that's a little better. Okay, that's on R2, and that's on R3. So as you can see here, we are just um, enabling OSPF routing, and for example on R1, we are just defining an interface on which OSPF runs and defines the area ID for that interface. So for example, on R1, we are saying that we are running OSPF on this interface because of the subnet, and here, and on this interface. So that's why, hence the the network statements here. And same with the other routers. Router 2, you can see the subnets. Uh, just and router 3. Okay, and um, OSPF is already established, and we can verify it here. So full. So when you see full, meaning that the neighborships between routers are already complete. Same on R2, same on R3. Okay, and next thing that we are going to talk about is changing the router ID. Changing the router ID. So let's verify the router ID using this command here on R2. Let me go to R2. So router ID is actually already this, because I think what I did here is I specified the router ID, because by default router OSPF is going to use the highest IP address on its interface, but you can also specify the router ID, or also it's going to use the IP address on the loopback that you have on the router. But here again, I'm specifying the router ID, so it's 2. This actually, yeah, this actually, I tried this. I tried using, I tried changing the router ID by configuring a loopback, but it did not work. So I had to change router ID using this. And yeah, I also did it on R3, as you can see here. And I had to, the router told me to use this command for the for it to take effect. And we can verify that as well on router and on R3. So we see that router ID is that IP address. And if we go to R3, we will see this router ID. Okay, next is changing the cost. So to check, verify cost, to verify OSPF cost on an interface, use this command. So router R2, let me just clear the screen. So cost. So it is, this interface is a gigabit interface, so that's why this is the cost for a gigabit interface. And I think for fast Ethernet interface, it's 100. So, and we can actually verify it. And I can show you that, this will be sum up, or the OSPF will sum it up, the cost. So let's say on R2, to get to this route or prefix, it will have a cost of 2. So can we do this command here? So here, this is the prefix, right? It has a cost of 2 because it added the cost of this interface and this interface here. Okay, and we can actually see that OSPF is load balancing between the paths. So this is the path to R3 here. This is R3 and this is R1. As you can see here on the in the diagram. And what we can do is actually change the cost, and to make so lower cost is better. So I can actually copy and paste this command, and we will verify that this interface will have a cost of 50. You can see here. And if we check the routing table, OSPF is not using um, that interface or that path. Yeah, so it's using this path because this one has a lower cost. This one. Yeah, and we can verify it here, right? It's 1. So so yeah, 1 plus 1, so 2. That's why we see here that it's the cost is 2. Okay, next is, let me see. and actually put the number. So 2, put numbering here. 3, 2, 3, 4. This you can also advertise the default route into OSPF, and this is how you do it. And if you don't already have a default route in your routing table, you need to add this keyword, the always keyword. And I already did this on R2, and we can verify it by doing this command, OSPF. It's here. And if we check R3, we see that it's learning this route or default route via R2. And same on R1, learning this route via R2. Yeah. All right. So that's how you configure advertise a default route into OSPF. Next is configure plain text authentication between routers. So I'm going to do this. I already did this on R2 and R3. I will just show you the configurations. So R2, it's here. So Cisco, the password is Cisco or the key. And same on R3. And we know that this is working because OSPF neighborship is still working between the two routers. So here router 3 and this is router 2. Okay, that's plain text authentication. And I also did MD5 authentication between R1 and R2. And of course we can verify that R1 and R3, by the way, not R2. So R1, this is, yeah, R1, this here, these routers. Okay, so we see that, yeah, this is the MD5 authentication. This is how you configure it. And same on R3 here. And of course, we know that it is working because neighborship is still working. So this is R1 and this is R3. Okay, you can also configure MD5 authentication in an area. I'm not gonna go into detail. Discuss this in depth, but I'm going to make another video about it in the future. And you can also change the OSPF timers. So I did it between R2 and R3 in this case. And you can also first verify it by doing this command. Same as how we verify the cost. And actually, let me see if we can verify so R3, how do we verify OSPF? Do we see authentication here? Because we know that we have MD5 configured on this interface, right? But looks like we cannot see it using this command. We cannot verify it. Maybe this one, yeah. So cryptographic authentication enabled. That's how you verify it. But I'm not 100% sure about that. Let's see R1 and R2. Yeah, nothing here. Okay, so this is something you can also check, or you can just show run on this interface. You can see that authentication is configured. Okay, next is, yeah, you can also, like I said, you can also change the OSPF timer, and this is how you do it. And I actually did, I mean, did already did it on between R2 and R3, and we can see it here. Hello, timer is 5, dead timer is 20, or hello interval or dead interval. All right, so yeah, Um, that's all the things that I wanted to talk about in this video. But of course, yeah, these are the verification commands you can use to verify those um, configurations. Did not use this one. So you have this is how just this is where you can specify the route for OSPF routes for OSPF only. And this is how you clear the OSPF process. And this is how you verify the interface parameters. And of course, you can do a debug. So just to see things in action. All right, yeah, that's all I want to talk in this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.